Good morning, you're watching The Breakfast News with me, Ishan Russell, and these are the headlines that we're tracking right now. Prime Minister to leave on a two-day visit to Russia today. Business delegation to accompany Prime Minister. The two countries focus on bilateral trade in various sectors. Cabinet learned to have given nod to at least two deals likely to be signed during the Prime Minister's Russia visit. First phase of Lucknow Metro and reconstruction of Salma Dam in Afghanistan also get government nod. Four-member committee to probe BSF plane crash in Delhi in which 10 BSF men were killed. Identity of all 10 victims established. Political crisis in Nepal far from over. Madheshi leaders reject government's move to amend new constitution, termed the proposals abstract. And at least 200 civilians feared killed in suspected Russian airstrikes in Syria's Idlib. Amnesty International report says there have been more than 25 Russian attacks between September and November. Our top focus this morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will leave for a two-day visit to Russia today. The visit is part of the annual summit-level talks between the two countries, but this time the focus will be on increasing bilateral trade in a number of sectors. A business delegation will accompany the Prime Minister.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will leave for Moscow on Wednesday, where he is scheduled to hold summit-level talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday. The talks will mainly focus on cooperation in nuclear energy and the defense sector, but oil and gas, agriculture and trade will also feature in them.
We expect to sign a number of agreements covering a very broad range of fields. Some of them are still kind of, final touches are being given.
India and Russia aim to enhance annual bilateral trade to $30 billion over the next 10 years from the current $10 billion. The sanctions regime imposed due to Russia's dispute with Turkey and the Ukraine crisis gives India an opportunity for greater technology transfer. India can also make inroads in areas where Europe had the upper hand so far.
We do see Russia today as a market which offers great possibilities, and if you actually look at India's own basket, there are a number of areas where we traditionally were not exporting. So the possibilities are there, and I think particularly if we reach and implement stronger understandings, strong understandings on customs facilitation, and very consciously do more trade promotion work, I have every confidence that our trade with Russia will increase. I mean, certainly nobody on either side can be satisfied with a number of below $10 billion.
India and Russia will also deliberate on global issues, including the situation in Syria and ways to tackle terrorism. India has made it clear that it stands by Russia on both issues.
At a conceptual level, both the Russians and us agree that the Syrian issue needs to be resolved through political and diplomatic means and through an intra-Syrian dialogue. So if you look at the broad approach to the issue, I think we are sort of on the same page.
The two sides are also likely to discuss India's bid for a permanent seat at the UN Security Council.
There is no doubt about Russia's cooperation for India's candidature to permanent membership of United Nations Security Council. But talks will go on. What way to follow? Akhilesh Soman for Rajya Sabha television with camera person D.K. Pandey in Delhi.
Ahead of the Prime Minister's scheduled Russia visit today, the Cabinet Committee and Securities understood to have cleared at least two deals that are likely to be signed during his trip. Russia and India will jointly manufacture 200 Kamov 226T helicopters in what is seen as the first big step for Prime Minister Modi's Make in India push in the defense sector. India and Russia are expected to expand the strategic ties with a particular focus on nuclear energy, hydrocarbons, defense and trade. Last week, Defense Ministry's top acquisition council had cleared the purchase of Russian S-400 Trimov air defense missile systems at an estimated cost of 40,000 crore rupees. And the other cabinet decisions taken during Tuesday's meeting are construction of the first phase of the metro rail project in Lucknow at an estimated cost of 6,928 crore rupees. The cost of the project will be supported by the centre with 1,300 crores in the form of equity and subordinate debt. The other approval by the cabinet includes reconstruction and completion of the Salma Dam project in Afghanistan at the revised cost estimates of 1,775 crore rupees. The project is scheduled to be completed by June 2016. The cabinet also approved an investment of 5,000 crore rupees by ONGC Limited in the equity of its wholly owned subsidiary ONGC Videsh Limited. Also, nod was given to the integrated development and management of fisheries and ex post facto approval for India's intended and nationally determined contribution communicated to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change was also made. And a day before the scheduled close of the winter session, the Upper House passed the Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Bill 2015 on Tuesday. CPIM members staged a walkout demanding that the bill be sent to a select committee.
The Upper House on Tuesday passed the Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Bill 2015. The bill reduces the age for punitive action for heinous crimes to 16 years from the current 18 years. It also prescribes certain riders and provides for measures for rehabilitation. Moving the bill for consideration and passing, Women and Child Development Minister Menaka Gandhi explained the nuances of the bill.
Suppose a child commits a crime in the heinous category. He will go before a juvenile justice board. They will decide whether he committed the crime with an adult mind or a childish mind. These children will then appear before court, and the court will decide whether they are to go in to an adult system or to a juvenile system. If, for instance, the court decides that they are to go into adult jail, even then they have the power of appeal as anyone else. At the end of all these steps, if it is decided that they are to go to adult jail, they will still not be put into adult jail along with adults. They will be put into a children's jail, a Borstal. They will stay there only till they are 21 years old. If at the age of 21, there will be another check on them. And if that check decides that they have served their sentence, that they have now reformed, that we no longer need to have them locked up, they will be released. If it is decided that no, they're completely recalcitrant, they have learned no lessons, and they still are of that criminal bent of mind, then they will serve their full sentences, whatever they are.
During the debate that lasted over 4 hours, several members discussed various provisions of the bill.
जुवेनाइल जस्टिस बोर्ड जो है उसको और ब्रॉड बेस बनाने की जरूरत है. उसको ब्रॉड बेस, ये कोई जरूरी नहीं है 2 आदमी है 3 हो 5 हो सकते हैं. हमारे समाज में लोगों की कमी नहीं, अच्छे लोगों की कमी नहीं, मर्दों की भी कमी नहीं है, औरतों की भी नहीं कमी है. उसको और ब्रॉड बेस बनाने की जरूरत.
सिर्फ 16 से 18 करना, 18 से 16 करना और इसकी चिंता करना कि बाल अपराध कैसे कम हो. मेरा ये मानना है कि बाल अपराध को रोक लगाने के लिए हमें बच्चों के लिए सही शिक्षा, सही जो पुनर्वास उनका है शॉर्ट स्टे होम में, इनको करने की जरूरत है.
Law is not to be made for an individual, and please let's not mix up child rights with women's rights as we debate this law, sir. Sir, this bill has taken a while. It's a complex bill, and I think the leader of the opposition was fair enough when he said there are very different dimensions to this bill, and I will go with him. Every party discussed, there were various dimensions to the bill, but eventually, as I said, sir, we were on.
Only because a person involved in a heinous offence as defined under this act, he will be permanently taken away from his livelihood. He will not be employed by government or private employers. Hence, I earnestly urge this House to reconsider this provision and do the needful.
The CPM, NCP and DMK demanded that the bill be sent to the select committee, arguing that it needed further examination. CPM members later staged a walkout during the voting.
This is my appeal that we have to no doubt relook, review the present provisions, but at the same time I feel that this law is absolutely stringent, and therefore I suggest to the Honourable Minister and this House that we should send it to a select committee where we should make a deeper study and come out with certain provisions which will not be only considered for a short time, but they should be solid, firm, and which will actually meet justice both to the victim and the children of our country.
Sir, the Standing Committee and the Justice Verma Committee have also expressed their opinions against bringing the age down to 16 years.
Okay, now.
So when there's so much of debate happening and there's so much of concern about it, I think it would be really good if the government sends this to a select committee and we can have more discussions, more considerations, and then pass this bill.
Put it to the select committee. My appeal, if you don't accept it, I'm not opposing the bill, but if you're not accepting the select committee thing, we are walking out.
In her reply, Menka Gandhi assured members that the bill has enough checks and balances. She also said measures like women SPOs, inspection and social audit of juvenile homes will be soon put in place.
Every village is getting a special police officer who's above the age of 21. She will be trained. Her job is to be a facilitator and to inform on whether children are being beaten, whether wives are being beaten by husbands, whether there are crimes taking place which people don't report or haven't noticed. So we hope that this will act as another deterrent.
This bill has already been passed by the Lok Sabha. Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV.
The parents of Nirbhaya had led the demand for amendments to the law after their daughter was brutally gang-raped by the juvenile and 5 adult companions. They welcomed the passage of the bill.
ये बिल पास हो गया तो हमें इस मन को तसल्ली ये हुई है कि कम से कम हमारे को नहीं लेकिन आने वाले बच्चों के लिए, लड़कियों के लिए, महिलाओं के लिए बहुत अच्छा होगा।
मुझे तसल्ली है, लेकिन मुझे कहीं न कहीं दुख है कि हमारी निर्भया को न्याय नहीं मिला।
For yet another day on Tuesday, the Congress pressed for Finance Minister Arun Jaitley's resignation over alleged irregularities in the Delhi cricket body DDCA. The government also hit out at the Congress for disrupting proceedings in Parliament. Repeated protests by Congress led to several adjournments.
For the third day in a row, the Congress continuing its offensive against Finance Minister Arun Jaitley in the upper house over the DDCA scam. Soon after papers were tabled, Deputy Chairman PJ Kurian disallowed Congress member Kumari Selja from raising the issue.
There is a procedure for raising allegation now I will tell you the procedure. You should see the rule. You should give a written intimation to the chairman that you are going to raise it, and give a written intimation to the person, to the member. Have you done that? Have you done that? No, not allowed.
The government also refuted charges against the finance minister and slammed the Congress for disrupting the house.
0 hour, question hour नहीं चलाना चाहते, नहीं चलने देना चाहते, तो आप जुवेनाइल जस्टिस बिल अभी ले लीजिए, क्योंकि इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इशू, पूरे देश में इसको लेकर के पूरी बेचैनी है, और हम चाहते हैं कि अगर सदन को ये चलने नहीं देना चाहते, तो क्वेश्चन आवर को और 0 आवर को शुरू करिए अभी.
Sharp verbal exchanges were witnessed between the Treasury benches and the Congress members. 0 hour and question hour were disrupted amid the Congress tirade. Marching into the well, Congress members forced several adjournments. Priti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, the Delhi Assembly has passed a resolution to set up a commission of inquiry to probe the alleged corruption in the DDCA. The decision was taken in a special session of the Assembly yesterday. In a series of scathing remarks against the centre, Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal said that Finance Minister Arun Jaitley must prove his innocence in front of the Commission. Kejriwal also targeted Prime Minister Modi, saying that the CBI raid at his office was conducted to help Jaitley, demanding that the Prime Minister also resign. The AAP government had decided to set up a commission of inquiry headed by former Solicitor General of India, Gopal Subramaniam. However, the BJP has challenged the inquiry, saying the DDCA falls outside the Delhi government's jurisdiction and the state has no power to inquire into the affairs of the cricket body. Earlier in the day, the Delhi High Court sought the response of Kejriwal and 5 other Aam Aadmi Party leaders on the civil defamation suit filed against them by Arun Jaitley.
विधानसभा ने निर्णय लिया है कि DDCA के पूरे स्कैम को इन्वेस्टिगेट करने के लिए, इंक्वायर करने के लिए कमीशन ऑफ इंक्वायरी का गठन किया जाएगा। तो ये कमीशन ऑफ इंक्वायरी कल परसों तक बन जाएगा और मैं अपील करता हूँ सभी लोगों से जो भी अफेक्टेड हैं और जिनको भी कमीशन ऑफ इंक्वायरी बुलाएगा वो सब इसके साथ सहयोग करें। और मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि जेटली जी LG साहब को फोन करके उसको नल एंड वॉइड नहीं कराएंगे और उसमें सहयोग करेंगे।
Time for us to take a very short break. On the other side, lots more to follow. Do stay tuned.
One of the greatest exponents of Carnatic music, MS Subbulakshmi or MS to her fans. An icon even to a younger generation brought up on fusion and rock music. MS is the first musician ever to be awarded the Bharat Ratna, also the first Indian musician to receive the Raymond Magsaysay Award. As India's cultural ambassador, she also performed at the UN General Assembly in 1966. Former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru once said of MS, "Who am I, a mere Prime Minister, before a queen of music?"
Welcome back. You're watching the Breakfast News. Now, a committee of Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau will probe the BSF plane crash in Dwarka in Delhi, in which all 10 on-board BSF men were killed. Their body is under the Civil Aviation Ministry, which investigates serious accidents. This apart from the inquiry that the BSF has ordered. The plane Super King was inducted in the border guarding force for air support roles. Meanwhile, identity of all 10 victims has been medically established.
A 4-member committee headed by Senior Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau official will probe the BSF plane crash on Tuesday in Dwarka in Delhi, in which all 10 persons on board lost their lives. Identity of all 10 victims have been established. The Ranchi-bound twin-engine Super King B200 carrying BSF personnel and technicians crashed on Tuesday morning at around 9:45, moments after takeoff. The aircraft was blown to pieces as it hit the airport boundary wall, caught fire, with hardly any wreckage left to salvage from. There was no distress call or communication. Efforts are on to retrieve the black box.
Whatever happens in aviation, there is definitely followed with an inquiry, because the mistakes should not happen again. It costs lives. Nah? We can't afford to lose lives.
The crash is being considered as a big blow to the elite BSF Air Wing, with 10 of its most experienced men being killed, who are entrusted with air support role for troops deployed to ensure the internal security of the country. The officers on board the plane were also trained to handle the most modern asset BSF has inducted recently in its inventory, the Mi-17 V5. Prime Minister Narendra Modi joined the nation in expressing pain over the death of the BSF men.
प्लेन ऊपर उड़ते ही उसमें टेक्निकल स्नैग आया है, तो इसका मतलब ये है कि जो इंस्पेक्शन हुआ है उसमें कहीं गड़बड़ी थी। ज़्यादा 5 मिनट से ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं हुआ, 5 मिनट में ही उनको पता लग गया पायलट को कि इसमें कोई टेक्निकल प्रॉब्लम है, इसका मतलब इंस्पेक्शन नहीं है।
दुखद घटना तो है ही, हम तो बड़ा सदमा लगा है हमें, तो कैसे इसको मतलब बयान करने की स्थिति में नहीं है, कैसे करें हम तो।
Meanwhile, in wake of the accident, the DG-level talks between India and Bangladesh, scheduled to begin from Tuesday in Dhaka, were cancelled. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And here's a look now at the news and events lined up for the day ahead. President Pranab Mukherjee, who is in Karnataka for the 2-day visit, will attend the 150th anniversary of the Bishop Hawkins Boys School. Later in the day, he will lay the foundation stone of the State Cancer Institute at the Kidwai Memorial Institute of Oncology in Bangalore before returning to Secunderabad. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi will be on a 2-day visit to Amethi, his parliamentary constituency, from today. Rahul will meet newly elected Gram Pradhans of his constituency. In the afternoon, he will meet presidents of Nyaya Panchayats in Jagdishpur Assembly segment. India's first indigenously designed and built warship, INS Godavari, will be decommissioned today in Mumbai, 32 years after it was inducted into the Indian Navy. Being the first indigenously designed and constructed ship, it was showcased around the world as a symbol of India's growing military might and self-reliance. The ship is the first of the 3 Godavari-class frigates, the others being Ganga and Gomti. The process of filing nomination papers of all the wards of the 21 Zilla Parishads in Haryana will start from today and will continue till the 29th of December. The much-awaited Panchayat polls will be held next year in 3 phases on the 10th of January, 17th and 24th of January. Scrutiny of the nomination papers will be held on the 11th and the last date of withdrawal will be the 13th of January. Some international news now, and the political crisis in Nepal is far from over. Madhesi leaders have rejected Nepal government's proposal to accommodate some of their demands by amending the new constitution. The leaders have called the proposals abstract. The leaders say that their agitation and blockade will continue till the government meets all their demands. However, the only positive development coming out of Nepal are the talks between the United Democratic Madhesi Front and the Nepali Congress, which the leaders say is heading in a positive direction. During the meeting, the two sides discussed the 11-point demands presented by the front. NC urged Madhesi groups to take up their issues through the constitution amendment process. Nepal's cabinet has decided to set up a political mechanism to recommend solutions to disputes over the proposed provincial boundaries within 3 months of its formation. While India welcomed the Nepal cabinet's move, the Nepal government welcomed India's statement saying such gestures would help normalize situation.
विधानसभा में विरोध चलता ही रहा और बाहर जो है सड़क पर अब दूसरा कोई रास्ता नहीं रहा, इसीलिए सड़क पर आके जो है विरोध शुरू हुआ, आम हड़ताल विरोध।
ये नाकाबंदी खोलने के लिए अगर सरकार चाहती है तो सरकार किसी भी समय हमारी मांगे को अगर मान लेती है तो नाकाबंदी खुल जाएगा।
इसीलिए जो 2 विधेयक पारित करने की बात हुई है, इससे मधेसी जनता के आंदोलन के लिए कोई बहुत तात्विक अंतर नहीं होगा।
अभी का जो संशोधन विधेयक संसद में प्रस्तुत हुआ है, यह आंशिक रूप से प्रतिनिधित्व को कुछ परिमार्जन कर सकेगी जैसा हमें लगता है, परंतु हमारा जो जनसंख्या है, मधेश का जो जनसंख्या है 51%, इस संशोधन के द्वारा राष्ट्रीय विधायिका यानी संसद में उसका प्रतिनिधित्व सुनिश्चित होने की कोई उम्मीद नहीं है।
Scores are feared killed in what is suspected to be a Russian airstrike in Idlib in Syria. Amnesty International, quoting eyewitnesses, say that the number of civilian casualties could be as high as 200.
One after the other, at least 6 airstrikes. In the heart of Syria's Idlib city, the busy marketplace flocked with residential areas and government buildings turned to rubble within minutes. 200 civilians, all collateral damage. As Russia continues to strike Islamic State positions in Syria, several still to be identified. An Amnesty International report quoting witnesses and activists confirmed the incident, indicating a serious failure on Russia's part to respect international humanitarian law. Their testimony suggests there were no military targets in the vicinity. Evidence shows that Russia's military unlawfully used unguided bombs in densely populated areas and inherently indiscriminate cluster munitions. The report gives details about 6 more attacks causing civilian casualties between 30th September and 29th November.
الله أكبر عليك يا مجرم يا بشار، الله أكبر على الأمم المتحدة، الله أكبر على مؤتمر جنيف، الله أكبر على مؤتمر الرياض، اللهم أكبر على لجنة المصالحة الوطنية.
Turkey too stepped up its criticism of Russia's airstrikes in Syria. Turkish Prime Minister emphasized that Syria will not be made a part of Russian imperialist goals. Syrian opposition groups have also blamed Russia for the strikes.
Rusya, Sovyetik palavralar ve Sovyetik iddialardan vazgeçerek diğer halklara dostlukla ve karşılığı saygıyla yaklaşmak zorundadır. Suriye toprakları Rusya'nın emperyal hedeflerinin parçası değildir, olmayacaktır.
Moscow has so far been quiet on the Amnesty report. The Kremlin has previously described similar reports as attempts to discredit its operations in Syria, denying causing any civilian deaths. Russia began a major aerial campaign in September in support of its ally Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Moscow has also been accused of bombing rebel groups opposed to Assad but backed by the West. Meanwhile, efforts are on to begin Syrian peace talks towards the end of January. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The French police have foiled a terror attack on police and army personnel in the region of Orleans. 2 men were arrested on 19 December and are supposed to have had contact with a Frenchman who is believed to be in Syria. The country's home minister informed that they had intended to attack police officers, military personnel and officials with the French state. A probe has been ordered into the case. The latest revelations come just a month after the Paris attacks, in which 130 people were killed. The minister also informed that 10 attacks have been foiled in France so far this year. The announcements came a day before the French government is due to present reforms aiming to inscribe emergency security powers in the constitution. Emergency policing powers used under the state of emergency are currently based on a simple law, which can be challenged at the Constitutional Court. President François Hollande has called for the powers to be protected from further litigation by placing them in the Constitution. Time now to take a look at other stories making news around the world and World Wrap. On Tuesday, the UN Refugee Agency and the International Organization for Migration said that the number of refugees and migrants arriving by land and sea in the European Union has passed 1 million this year. The figure for 2015 represents a 4-fold rise on the total last year. With 11 more dying in the effort to reach Greece from Turkey, the number of dead or missing has reached 3,700. After launching a multi-pronged offensive against the Islamic State, Iraqi forces have advanced into the center of Ramadi. Backed by US-led airstrikes, they've already recaptured 2 districts. They're heading towards the main government complex in Ramadi in a drive to dislodge the militants from their remaining stronghold. Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos has signed a new decree legalizing medical marijuana in a shift away from the government's drug trafficking policies. Santos said the decree allows for the therapeutic use of marijuana and does not weaken the fight against illegal crops and drug trafficking. Studies show marijuana can help treat pain and nausea and offers relief for sufferers from epilepsy and other conditions. Time now for all the sports action in Sportsbeat. 8-time champions India have been clubbed alongside their title holders Germany and world number 2 Netherlands in Pool B in the men's hockey competition of the 2016 Rio Olympics. The world number 7 Indian team has also Argentina, Ireland and Canada in their pool, while the women's team has Argentina, Australia, Great Britain, USA and Japan in its group. The 11th edition of the SAF Games will kick-start in Thiruvananthapuram from today, with Nepal taking on Sri Lanka in the opening match. The Group A, now rendered just 3 teams after Pakistan's pullout, includes India, Nepal and Sri Lanka. Group B has defending champions Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Maldives and Bhutan. The 2 teams from each of the 2 groups will make it to the semi-finals. The men's doubles pairs of Manu Atri and B. Sumit Reddy ended the season on a high by claiming their maiden Grand Prix title with a straight game win over Thailand's Bode Nisara and his compatriot in the final of the Mexico Open. The third seeds finally laid their hands on the Grand Prix title when they defeated the other team 20-20, 20-21-18 in a 35-minute battle. Nick Davies, a leading official of the World Athletics Federation, on Tuesday said that he would step aside while an ethics committee investigated emails he'd sent regarding Russian doping ahead of the 2013 World Championships in Moscow. Davies said was the IAAF Director of Communications at the time, but is now Director of IAAF President Sebastian Coe's office. Well, that's all from us. Goodbye.